Okay, so I know our first session got, we had a little technical difficulties, but you were saying that when parents are looking to apply for DDA services, one of option before COVID was that they could drop their applications off to your office.
That's correct. And that address is 250 East Street, Southwest Washington, D.C. In addition to sending them to the DDS intake email address, which again is dds-dda.intake@dc.gov, or they could send them directly to me, Brenda.Davis2@dc.gov, or Michelle Hawkins at michelle.hawkins@dc.gov,
Great,
or send them by regular mail, I'm sorry.
great, thank you. And the application, I'm assuming, is on the website?
The application is on the website. And in addition to that, Michelle Hawkins and I can be contacted, and we can also send them by email, or actually mail them to people who don't have access to email, or they don't have access to a printer to print the application and supporting documents that are needed.
Great, thank you so much for sharing that. And I know from working with some parents over the years, so some of the supporting documents that they need when they apply, can you talk about what those are?
Sure. So the supporting documents that they would need will be proof of residency, as stated earlier. With a proof of residency can be a utility bill, electric, gas, or water bill that shows the address that is on the application. And of course, the person's name that the bill is in does not have to be the person who is applying for services. And when we get sent a copy, then we need the address showing and the date of the utility bill to make sure that it is recent, or we can have a copy of a lease or a recent SSI letter. If it is recent, sometimes they are not, according to depending on the time that the person applies for services.
Great. And I know they also need to provide you with a copy of the birth certificate, correct? And
yes, the birth certificate, the social security card, the insurance card, and a picture ID if they have a picture ID.
great. And I will also add that to parents, when you're applying, please let the social work team at St. Coletta know, because we often can assist with sending the school documents, like the psychological or those assessments that she was talking about earlier. And so it's helpful if you let us know so that we can help you in pulling some of those school files.
Yes, and I would just like to add that the social workers at St. Coletta, they have done an excellent job in the past. When parents, if you need assistance or you're going to apply, you should definitely let them know, because they have been so great at giving us all the school documents and records that we need, and it has been very helpful and make the process much smoother and goes by much faster.
Oh, thank you for that. And we're here to help. So we're, like she said, you don't need to do this alone. We're happy to help walk you through it as needed. How long can someone receive services from DDA? So let's say they apply, they're found eligible. How long can they receive services for?
Okay. Once a person is found eligible for services for DDA, they are for a lifetime. However, the person and with the help of their support, circle of support, needs to make sure that all of the meetings are attended and that required documents on an ongoing basis are received in order to maintain those services. So they have a responsibility as well. But once they're found eligible for services, they're eligible for a lifetime.
Great. And what happens after someone is found eligible? What happens next?
So what happens usually, I will take care of the intake process. That means collecting all the required documentation. Then once I get the packet and get the documents that are required, I send the intake packet with supporting documents to the eligibility unit. Once the eligibility unit gets those documents in the packet, they have 45 calendar days to determine eligibility. And part of that process is speaking to the person to complete a level of need. And on the correspondence that's sent out, that will say we need to have a face-to-face with you. So once within the 45 days, or continue, depending on the person's individual, because all of these are, even though we have procedures, these procedures are based on an individual basis. So once they're found eligible for services, there's a meeting, and with service coordination, or whomever the service coordinator is, and they have a meeting to transfer the case. And once the service coordinator gets the case, they have, I think, 5 days, but don't hold me to that, to contact the person to let them know that they are the assigned service coordinator to help them navigate the system. And then they will follow through with whatever meetings that are required.
Great, thank you. And I know once a service coordinator is assigned, then I don't know the timeline, but there at some point they create a plan with the family, correct?
That is correct.
And that would be the time where a parent could talk about maybe what services they feel that they would need for their child.
Yes. Yes, and it's also, even though the parents have input and the person themselves, because we are person-centered, it's also based on the level of need, on how independent a person is. That's why that is completed. So, so it's based on those, the score and the level of need, as well as what the person, services that the person wants or need, and the team will meet and have that discussion.
Great, thank you. I think the only other question I have is that what advice would you give to parents of children with disabilities or individuals with disabilities themselves who are transitioning to adulthood or thinking about what that's going to look like? What advice would you give them?
Well, my advice is that they would apply for DDA services, or start preparing to apply and gathering documents before the age of 18, but definitely apply for the age of 18, because these are services out here that they're eligible for if they meet the criteria, and that will help the person, and for the parents' sake, their son or daughter, with services that they need to live in the community, integrated lives in the community, so that they can become as part of the community and stay in the community and have choices on the, and live a high quality life.
Great, thank you for that. And I totally agree that parents of children with disabilities or individuals with disabilities themselves definitely need to make sure they're looking into your services. And that should be one of the first things they look into. Thank you for your time today. We so appreciate it. And I know our parents really appreciate having this information. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Okay, you're welcome. And I just want to say to the parents too, even after listening to this, I'm sure that there will be questions. Please feel free to call me again, Brenda Davis, at area code 202-412-1635, and I will be happy to give you individualized instructions and answer any questions that you might have.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.